A lot in common, not just that we were parents, the only parents that were running, but that we wanted to be focused on what was really happening in our schools.
3 candidates from 3 different parties, all running together. Just when you thought this election couldn't get any more interesting.
Here we go. We're doing this, all 3 of us.
It's all happening right now on MOMCAST. Welcome to MOMCAST. I'm Emma Jade, a Democrat, an independent, and a Republican. Nope, not the start of some election joke. This is a team running together to fill 3 spots on the Mesa School Board. They come from different parties, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but they're running together because they each have children in Mesa Public Schools. And as parents, they decided to put their parties aside and agree on a better future for their kids. But you know what? This hasn't happened before. And it's why I sat down with the 3 parents running for Mesa School Board. Welcome to MOMCAST. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We have Lacey Chaffee, Independent, Josh Chilton, Democrat, Courtney Davis, Republican. How on earth, there's 3 open seats, did this come about that, like, we're gonna run together?
It took us a little while to get here. We each decided independently to run, and as we moved forward with the process and met each other, we realized that we had a lot in common, not just that we were parents, the only parents that were running, but that we wanted to be focused on what was really happening in our schools and what teachers needed, what students needed. We wanted to be supporting public education.
Josh, when this idea was presented, what did you think? I mean, you're a Democrat, so you have different ideals just right then and there.
I mean, I can work with anybody that supports public education and supports our schools. And working with these 2 has just been so easy because all 3 of us have been so involved with schools for so many years. I've been doing community outreach to schools around the county for the last 6 years. Lacey's been a former teacher and she's been involved in the classroom. And Courtney is already on the school board, but she's had experience in booster clubs and the PTOs and PTAs, whatever they call them at the different schools. Yeah. And when I hear their passion, it makes me excited to be able to work with them we may not always agree, but we're going to better the schools and make decisions for our students.
Courtney, you are the incumbent. I mean, you have been serving for a little bit now. Why did this make sense for you moving forward?
Well, I think at first it was, we met each other at a few different things, and originally it was like, we're all going to run our own way, we're going to do our thing. We're gonna, and then as things kept going and going, it just was like, hey, let's join forces. We're all parents. We want the common good for our district and for our students and our teachers. And so the more and more it just evolved to here we go. We're doing this, all 3 of us. And, and it is nonpartisan. And so to me, it never was about what political party we were part of. It was more like, what can we do good for our students and our communities? And so it just evolved to, here we are, all 3 of us together.
And see, I said this when we first got together this morning, is that this is what I try and teach my kids, is that you're going to meet different people from different backgrounds with different beliefs, different values, but working together is what life is all about. How has that gone for you so far, Lacey?
For me, it's really important that we have a governing board that represents different opinions. That's what I want, and that's why I send my kids to public schools. I want them to be exposed to different opinions, different perspectives, different families, and then I want them to learn how to work together because I think that that's good for our community. It's good for democracy.
Josh, when the horses started running and we're going here, we got a week left to go, how do you feel now being together with these 2 women?
I honestly feel really excited and really energized by the whole process. And honestly, the feedback that I get from the people I talk with, whether they agree with me or not, they love to see people of different backgrounds working together for a common cause.
Yeah. Courtney, what makes you want to keep going, to keep running, and to make sure that you stay on this board?
Because I value public education, and I want to make sure that we are supporting our public schools. I know how important it is to our communities. I love going to our schools and the communities that it brings out and what my kids are exposed to. I love that they get to see all sorts of different walks of life and get to be a part of that. And that's because of our public schools. And so I want to make sure we preserve that. I want to make sure that we're building that up and making sure that we're doing what's right for our communities. And I love being a part of our public schools, and that's why I got involved when my oldest started kindergarten, was because I wanted to help do better and make it better rather than tear something down.
There's a few things that set the three of you apart from the other two who are running. Number one is that you guys actually have kids in Mesa Public Schools. How does that give each of you kind of a leg up?
Yeah, for me, I feel like I spend so much time on campuses. And so rather than people feeling like they need to come to the school board meeting to have a conversation with me, I'm going to be at the football games, I'm going to be at the choir concerts, I'm going to be at the color runs and the different activities that are happening. And so I want parents and staff to feel like the school board is accessible, and also they know what's going on, that they really are caring about public education. That's my whole goal, is let's build up our schools.
Josh, you actually were inspired to run after going to one of these meetings. What happened?
Well, I wanted to support my daughter first off, and based on my experience, I thought that I had something to offer. So I started going to these school board meetings to see what they were like. And I went to one, and it was full of people, way more than usual. And a lot of them had come from other communities or even outside the state. And they were calling members of the board pedophiles and bigots. They were booing the parents of a transgender student. And they just weren't taking the discourse at the level that I think it needs to be at in a public setting. I don't mind if people disagree, and I don't mind if they share that opinion, but the way that it was being handled in a public setting, truthfully, as a person who was bullied as a kid in elementary, middle school, high school, I don't want to see any kind of bullying and harassment on campuses anywhere. But if that's going on by parents in a school board meeting, that scares me for the environment that they're setting for their students and that my daughter might need to engage with at her school.
Our conversation continues right here on MOMCAST. This is a pretty wild time to be running for anything. The election cycle is as volatile and divisive as ever. What are you hearing from people in the community? How's it going so far? I mean, number one, your parents. So that alone is exhausting. But to add this on top of that, by the way, this is an unpaid position. You guys are campaigning so hard. How's it going so far? And to be running at a time like this? A lot of parents don't feel like they need to get involved at some of these school board meetings because they feel like some of the topics are being discussed, it's just not happening. What do you say to those parents, Courtney?
I think we need to hear their voices too. Like, what is happening? Like, what are the issues? I'll come home from meetings. Sometimes my kids have watched the meeting and they'll be like, Mom, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, thank you, okay. But like, we know cell phones are a huge issue. So let's discuss that. I want to hear from those parents so that we can know what's actually happening in our classrooms, because there's so much misinformation going on out there that we need to know what's actually happening in these classrooms. And so I think that's what too sets us apart, because we are there, we're on those campuses, we're out in our communities hearing, talking to families, and we hear what's really happening.
This is a pretty wild time to be running for anything. The election cycle is as volatile and divisive as ever. Number one, your parents. So that alone is exhausting. But to add this on top of that, by the way, this is an unpaid position. How's it going so far? And to be running at a time like this?
People always ask, like, why on earth would you run for school board? Like, why would you do it? But it's this, right? Like, this is our community showing up. Our kids go to amazing schools with amazing people, and I want them to feel supported. And I want to be able to show up for them every day. And I have been anticipating a lot of negativity. And sometimes that shows up on Facebook and in the comments. I don't read the comments.
Right.
But meeting people day to day who care deeply about kids and who care deeply about education has been really incredible.
I feel like there was a pretty big gut punch when that recent study came out, putting Arizona public education dead last in the nation. I can't imagine how much that fired you up.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and there's so many factors that go into it. You know, one of the things that motivates me and why I really want to be a part of this along with these two is that I want to create the best possible learning environment for my daughter so that she gets the skills and knowledge and the interests that she's going to need after high school.
Yeah. Courtney, what about you for public education? I mean, knowing how far down we rank and funding wise, how much we don't pay our teachers and how much money we need to funnel into our schools. What do we do? How do we change that? What hope can you give to parents? This is a lot.
It's heartbreaking, right?
It
Like,
is.
it really is. Like, these are our kids, and this is our future.
Right.
So let's invest in them. And I think one of the things that I've learned the most this last year being on the board is how much is determined by our legislator and like what we're doing there and funding our schools. And it's been eye-opening in a lot of ways.
Courtney and I talk often about you are not going to be able to attract businesses to a city. You're not going to be able to attract partnerships if you talk bad about your public schools.
Nope.
So if you have school board members who disparage your school district, no one's going to want to move here, no one's going to want to teach here, no one's going to want to partner. So we need to be able to like talk positively about the good things that are happening so we attract those people here.
Some people don't realize how much the school board actually does. And so I'm just going to list off a few things. Policies, setting budgets, curriculum, overseeing the superintendent. One thing that you guys agree on that sets you apart from the other two are bonds. Right now, Mesa Public Schools, 56,000 kids, $630 million budget. But you guys all agree that getting more money for these schools is something that we should be doing. Why is that something that you all agree on?
One thing I love about bonds is it's local money raised in your city by your community that goes right back into your schools, and it can only be spent on facilities. I've learned so much over the last couple of years that to me is like the smallest form of government, that we decide as a community we support public education, we want to support our buildings, and our buildings are old. Most of our buildings are more than 40 years old, and they get a ton of wear and tear. Our high schools get 3,500 students through them every single day, so they need upkeep, and it's gotten hotter in the last 20 years, and we need to be able to maintain air conditioning so that our kids can go and learn in comfortable environments and safe environments.
What about you, Courtney? Because we've had bonds in the past that have not passed.
So it's so sad to me because these are our kids and these are our schools, and we want them to feel good when they come to school, that they're coming to a campus that is ready for them, that is, the AC is working. Like my kids were on the west side of town. We're in older schools that are old. And I remember one day one of my kids texting, Mom, their ceiling tiles are falling down. And just like those minimal things, but we want our kids to feel good when they come to school. We want them to look our best. We want our schools to look their best. And there's just we have a lot of schools that need a lot of repairs and upkeep. And, so the bonds are the way to do it. And unfortunately, too, a good thing I've learned is there's different money that goes different places. And you can't, it might look like we're sitting on all this money. Well, that's only for certain things. And so we can't use that money to go improve this campus. So that's the other thing that I think gets misinformation out there, that the district's sitting on all this money when in actuality there's different pots for different places of money. It goes different places.
Josh, another really big thing that you guys help out with is school safety. To you, what needs to happen in Mesa Public Schools so that kids can go to school feeling safe and that parents can send their kids feeling at peace?
It again kind of goes back to the bonds as well. The bonds will support capital expenditures, right? Those things that are going to last many years in the future. And among those are the safety, the infrastructure, the cameras, the metal detectors. And I wish that we didn't live in a world where I feared for my daughter going to school for the chance that some external threat might, come through the door. But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, and we need to prepare for that. At the same time, we need to look at the advancing technology to make sure that safety infrastructure interferes as little as possible in the students' education. I don't want them to feel like they're in some locked facility, like they're in a prison or something. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to be able to focus on their studies. And that comes from having resource officers that they support and respect. That comes from having safety procedures that aren't seen but are always in effect to keep our kids safe.
Another thing, Lacey, you guys will be doing is overseeing curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that when you have, 6 high schools, 10 junior highs, 51 elementary schools, 15 choice and success schools? Mm-hmm. Where do you start? What do you do?
So there are a lot of organizations that vet curriculum, and I would like to make sure that the district is always using curriculum that is proven, not promising. Mm-hmm. And they rank them. Like, this curriculum is proven. That might be promising is a good idea for a small district. We're such a large district, 55,000 plus students. We should be using proven curriculum. So that's something we can do. And then we also want to have the input of the community and especially our staff. Is this a curriculum that works for you? Does this lead us to the outcomes that we want? Is this going to help our students be prepared for college and career?
Our conversation continues right here on MOMCAST.
I threw this out on my social media, and I got very specific questions from parents. So I'm gonna fire off some of the questions, and then whoever wants to take it. First up is. I threw this out on my social media, and I got very specific questions from parents. So I'm gonna fire off some of the questions, and then whoever wants to take it. First up is cell phones in schools. What do we do? What do we do with cell phones in schools? How are you guys going to tackle this?
So we have a new policy that rolled out, and that is no cell phones, unless the teacher allows, at the end, if they're done. We need to tighten that up. And I think a lot of it is making sure it's a communication issue, making sure that our teachers know about the new policy. I had a new teacher reach out and I said, hey, just so you know, there's a new policy, and made her aware of it. We need to make sure our administration is backing up our teachers. We need to make sure we're all working together. Even as parents, I need to talk to my kids like, hey, listen, your phone shouldn't be out. All of those different areas, we just need to make sure we're communicating this out and making sure that it's happening. I loved a teacher. I was talking to a teacher at a high school, and she has like the pencil boxes, and they put them all in there at the beginning of the class period. They all go in, she puts them in her desk, and then before, different ideas. Let's share those ideas. What's working? I know there's lots of different things that are going across the country. We have big campuses. So we got to look, and that's 3,000 kids we're trying, different things. We got to work through those things. And I'm excited. We have students that are going to come talk to us about their ideas in a couple weeks. And what do they want? What do they want to see? Because I think the kids want something too. It's a distraction. And so I'm all for it. Let's figure this out, because we all know it's hard. It's hard to talk to my kid when they're just like this. So we got to figure this out. And I want these teachers to feel supported. And I think, how can we do that as a district?
Another question that I got a lot was vaping. How do we handle vaping?
Vaping is a huge problem. I had a group of kids over at my house, and I said, okay, I hear a lot from older people in the community that the bathrooms are a problem. Tell me the real problems in the bathroom.
Yes.
And a girl said, well, I would really like to be able to use the bathroom without holding my breath. And I said, what? And she said, the vaping is so bad that I have to run in, hold my breath, go to the bathroom as fast as I can, wash my hands, and run out. And that's disheartening. We've got to be able to have better enforcement. We've got to have a strong discipline policy that really enforces it. We should have vape detectors in all of our bathrooms. A lot of that comes back to bonds. We need money to be able to keep our classrooms safe and our schools safe.
Back on with money, teacher salaries was another really big question. How do we tackle that? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of teachers. What do we do?
Well, I think funding teachers is always essential. And Mesa actually does a pretty good job of having competitive salaries. However, my office has actually done teacher retention surveys. We've looked at a lot of different things. It goes beyond just the teacher salaries. It also includes how do teachers feel with the culture on campus? How do they feel about their leader? We need to have effective leaders on campuses that make teachers feel appreciated, that give them the supports they need, that provide the time supports. Teachers that I talk to, they want nothing more than to be able to focus on each individual student and provide the supports that they need.
Heading to the polls, we've got a lot on those ballots. Those ballots are huge this election cycle. They really need to focus in, especially those who live in Mesa, on the school board, because it's 3 seats. This is a lot of people. Why do they need to cast their votes for you 3?
It's just so many people especially who are retired, who think, I don't have kids in the district anymore, this doesn't affect me.
Right.
Those kids are going to be the kids who are helping you out at every business that you're going to visit for the next decade. These are the kids that you're going to be interacting with on the street. We need people in our Mesa community who are knowledgeable, who are friendly, who have the skills to be able to build up this community. And that begins in our schools. So we need to go back to having 5 people on the school board who are going to make decisions that are going to get those outcomes that we want. And that's why you need to think about it. There's 3 seats, and we like to call ourselves the 3 C's. If there's a C in their name, vote for it. Chilton, Chaffee, and Courtney Davis. And unfortunately, because again, there's so many names on the ballot, we have to kind of go back to that. So we say it's a 3 C's for an A+ for Mesa.
Yeah, I think that people need to be aware of the school board race because it does affect your property values, it affects the safety of your community, and like Josh said, these are the kids who are going to be your mechanics, your doctors, your teachers in the future. We want to keep those people here in Mesa. You know, I'm a Mesa girl, and I knew I wanted to come back here to raise my family because I had such a good experience, and I want that same experience not just for my kids, but every kid in Mesa, and I know that the 3 of us are going to be committed to creating that.
And Courtney, same for you. I mean, you were born and raised here.
So did my
mile and a half
parents.
away.
Yeah, so did my parents. And my grandpa drove one of the first buses for Mesa Public Schools. And so I have deep roots in Mesa, and I want good things for Mesa. And I think that's what draws us together is we see that we're willing to work together to build up our schools. And like Lacey said, I've done real estate for 20 plus years. And one of the first questions I'm always asked is, what are the schools like? We want to make sure our schools are good. It affects everything. And it draws people to cities is good schools. And so we know that. So let's help that. Let's build it up, not tear it down.
Yeah. I think one thing that's interesting is that Arizona is a school choice state. So a lot of people have said, I don't want a pro-public school person on my public school board. And I've had to remind them, it's great that everyone has a choice, but as a public school parent, my choice is public schools, and I want 5 people on the public school board who care about public schools. And you can serve on a governing board of a charter school or a private school, but I want public schools to be about public schools.
And I'm glad that parents have choices within the state, but as a public school advocate, I want public school to be the best option for parents. I want that to be your first choice.
Outside of Chilton, Chaffee, and Davis, and as we mentioned, there are 2 other candidates running for Mesa School Board. MOMCAST reached out to Ed Steele. We did not receive a reply, but I did talk to Sharon Benson. Here's her response on the race. Sharon sent me this statement. I feel positive about the race as the many stakeholders which we have been able to speak with resonate with our message, specifically about improving the academic outcomes for our students and improving parental involvement. I bring a diverse skill set to this position as I am a recently retired MPS gifted and talented educator, so I understand the teacher perspective. I am a small business owner, so I have the running a business lens, and I have children who graduated from MPS as well as a granddaughter currently enrolled. So I understand what parents believe to be important. This varied skill set will be important in identifying clearly the challenges and underlying problem which is causing the district to not meet the educational standards for which the Mesa School District was historically known. Thanks for watching this episode of MOMCAST. I'm Emma Jade. I'll see you next week right here at 2:30, or you can catch all of our MOMCAST episodes on the 12 Plus app.